Hi, I'm Natalia,
And I'm Leslie Marie,
and this is a We Are Fashionably Late podcast,
where we talk about the clothing we wear and the untold but very true stories about why we wear what we wear. Right, people? Another week, another episode. This one's very special because we have a very, very special guest with us. Not here. But
we'll put
but
her
here.
picture here. It's Swannawater.
Do you want to start off by describing your outfit that you do not have a sweater?
Yeah. First off, your hair, Miss Girl.
My hair. Okay, guys, update. I feel like myself again. I knew the pink peach hair was only for the summertime, but even before that, I don't think I had gotten it to be like my old hair since like a few years ago, and now she's back. And honestly, the person I went to, miracle worker, we love her.
Leslie was scared of being bald.
I was, because I didn't want to damage my hair. It was a whole thing. It's happy, it's healthy, it's cut, it's really
The color and the
great.
shape that you want.
Yeah. We're gonna grow it out, and maybe we'll have a few more blonde
Streaks
higher
But
in the
for
future.
the fall, this is
my fall hair.
This is Leslie's fall hair.
Yeah.
So probably
That's
the
an update.
interview part that we have.
Yeah, that was
She'll
pre-filmed.
have pink hair, but that was pre-filmed because then she got her hair done. So,
Outfit's the same though.
outfit's the same. Everything's the same.
Yeah.
Except I'm wearing the wrong bra today. But everything's the same.
Yeah, pretty much. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I think everything's pretty much.
Pretty much the same. Anyways.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing this, is it
Peplum baby doll
top
Mhm.
from Target. They have this in black and green. They have a skirt with it, but I don't like the skirt.
Okay.
But I like the top.
Mm-hmm.
I got this originally for a baby shower that I went to during the summer.
Mm.
I have my work outfit underneath, so I have some warm leggings and some shoes. And then my hair is slicked back today, different from the video.
We like it. Nelly might go get her hair done.
I might go get my hair done, so we'll see.
Next
We'll
video.
see. I'm waiting for a response. We'll see. What are you wearing?
I am wearing Baggy Dad. We don't even have to go there.
Golas.
And Golas. From the
Very
bottom down.
This
This is the thing though, people. I do obviously switch the different colors of the
Mhm.
pants, but I just have all of the
I don't
colors.
think so.
They're all the same. I'm wearing this Anthropology Martini tee. Again, this has nothing to do with what our topic is today. I think
No.
it's just we're entering the fall era, fall vibe.
Fall clothes.
Yes, and so we're getting ready for that.
Mhm.
And then this olive green Reformation sweater, which I love. I think the shape of it is just perfect.
Also, the color compliments you a lot.
Thank you.
Especially
with
with
your
your
hair.
hair.
I really want to get the red one and the light blue one. I have
Mhm.
the black one and the green one. So,
Yeah.
if Reformation wants to sponsor me, do a
Mhm.
collab.
Anyways,
yeah.
moving on to our next.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah, I'm just a girl segment. First thing, PSA to all the ladies. If you're looking for the perfect lip gloss
Ooh.
and you don't want it to break the budget, the e.l.f. lip glosses, which is what I'm currently wearing right now, I literally have them in 4 colors. I'll show you.
She's gonna whip them out,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
She's gonna whip them
Do you want to
out.
start with yours while I whip them out?
I don't perchance have
I have all
one.
I have 4 colors. Anyways, they're amazing.
I don't have a update other than this week, I believe. No, next week they'll be selecting sexiest man. But Harry Styles has won sexiest musician. This is his second year winning it. So
Also, going off of that beat, I don't know if you guys caught up with their episodes. They were pre-filmed.
yes.
We did add a little snippet though, where we talked a little bit about Liam at the end of the Birkin episode, I believe.
No, K-pop. Birkin.
Mm-hmm. But this is the first time we're filming post Liam.
This has been third week since his passing.
Which is kind of crazy.
It's still kind of crazy and hard to believe, especially now that for those that followed him on TikTok or have occasionally fallen into his TikTok account. TikTok have done like a memoriam for him, so every time you go on, it just says like in memory, and then they have that. And also he was doing a collab with somebody else, and the song will be released, I believe, this Friday.
Yeah, that's why you reminded me.
There'll be that, and supposedly the people that were behind him writing his newest album, are still working to make sure that gets released for the public.
I think it's still like all fresh. So
it's all
figuring stuff out.
And people, and especially the boys, we've heard that they've all commented. We've all seen it, but as well, honestly, I don't think they needed to be honest. No. We didn't need for them to comment about it, because it's something that they're dealing with, especially since they're very close. They were all very close, but we're grateful for it. But again, I feel like for most of us, it was like, but it wasn't necessary. Like, it wasn't something that we should have demanded from them, to be honest.
I feel like the fandom, though, is kind of like, in a way, kind of come back a little bit, in the sense that, like, their music is charting again.
Yeah, from 58 to 39 now.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. But I feel like that's just the way that we all kind of, like, mourn, just, like, reminiscing on that time.
Someone on Twitter released the dates that all of the albums came out, because technically all of their albums came out in November. So they put the exact dates that they were released, so everyone's like, so on these days we're just listening to this album. So they're like, that way, because they're back in the Billboard charts. Yeah. They're back in everything.
I think a lot of people underestimated how big of a boy band they were.
They were.
And my thing too, it's just like, not only were they huge, but the way that they rose to fame was really quick.
Yeah.
So that's also very interesting.
It has to do. Yeah.
But yeah.
So there's that going.
Those are they're filming People and Me on Vacation. Oh my gosh, the pictures of her outfits.
The pictures of her outfits have been.
I feel like I thought it was gonna be a little bit cringy with her outfits, because of like the whole like the one with the other.
It Ends With Us.
That one, but this is like good.
No, I feel like it's very spot on to her character cute. In the book.
Also, because I feel like his character too is like spot on, where it's like polar opposites.
Yeah,
he's just like a plain t-shirt. I can't. I'm so ready for this movie. Like, this is my favorite book, and I think it was my first Emily Henry book.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Yeah,
literally ready for it.
So those are a few little notes, little updates that have come for the girlies, you know, because I'm just a girl, and I'm doing this with this.
Wait, can I add one more?
Yeah.
Paul Mescal and
Gladiator.
Yeah, but did you see the cover that they did? Him and
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, for entertainment.
Yeah, I said Entertainment Today, tonight,
weekly, something. Anyways, with statues.
Someone said, beautiful. Putting Greek gods next to Greek god statues was the best thing ever, and I was like, that's true. That's true. Where is their statue?
Literally great. So I'm ready for that.
Anyways, also we were watching This Is Us.
Live in Time. Oh, sorry.
This Is Us, and when they're performing in the Coliseum, like in that area, Niall, if you watched it, he's like running, and then he was like, what does he say? He's like, where are the gladiators? Or something. Gladiators, or something like that. He says something.
Like, he references the movie.
He references the first movie, and then me and Leslie were like, oh.
Yeah.
And I told Leslie, I have a feeling that if they didn't do him dirty for Don't Worry Darling, Harry could have potentially come out in The Gladiator.
Yeah. Speaking of his co-star, we finally watched We Live in Time.
We Live in Time. Oh,
sobbed all the way home. Sobbed a little bit the next day. If you've gone through grief, this is a perfect depiction of it.
Yeah.
It's just...
For the people that said they didn't understand it...
How do you not understand it?
It's this thing of they're going back and forth, yes, but they're explaining how they get it.
We live in time. Yeah. So the whole movie is about the little times, the little moments.
That they lived together, that they experienced, that they felt, that they...
It's beautiful. Work of art.
So whoever is out here...
She's a chef. Chef's good.
So whoever was saying like, no, like... Clearly you didn't understand what they were going for. I understood that Andrew Garfield needs to be a girl dad.
Yeah, that's also another thing. He was such a cinnamon roll in that. Like, Emily Henry, what book do we want him in? Because
maybe he could be book lovers.
He could be book lover. He could be the one. Yeah. He could be... Okay, well, that's all
And then
there.
who's gonna be Norris? The shark.
It has to be somebody What if they team them up again, him and Florence Pugh? But this time Florence Pugh's like, I can see it. I can see it. We're cooking. We're cooking.
Emily Henry. Also, if you need like the music playlist,
Also,
I got you.
Also, you know who else? Paul Mescal and Ao Debris need to be the one in Funny Story. They need to. They'd be so funny. The comedic element would be there. It'd
Also,
be
there's
so
Happy.
funny.
There's Happy Place, Funny Story, Beach Read, Book Lovers.
Yeah. Obviously, for Beach Read, we want Harry.
Harry. Okay, I would do Harry or Dylan O'Brien. My man needs to be in a rom-com.
Yeah.
He needs redemption.
I could see him in Happy Place though, Dylan.
But you said Paul Mescal.
No.
Yes, you did.
I said
Funny Story.
Funny Story.
No.
She's got 5.
Funny Story, Dylan, Paul Mescal, and them could be in Happy Place.
I don't know, but we
because
definitely
they have
think
more of like a comedic, but like very storytelling. I just think of him in Normal People.
Yeah, and then I think
and
of
it's
her
gonna be a
in
show,
Cooking.
so
yeah. Hey,
Jennifer
you never
Lopez,
know.
don't fuck this up.
That's awesome. Let's hope that.
Please, this is
they're
all good stories.
Yeah.
Whoever directs Funny Story, please
Make
put
sure
my
it's
man,
good. Make sure it's
put my man
cooking.
Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah.
He already came out in that one with Zoe Deutsch. Where
Maybe
he was,
him and Zoe.
I could see it. Harry.
Anyways, leave your thoughts about all of this because we could go on a rant.
We can make a whole episode of this.
Put down below who you want to see play these parts.
Yeah.
And tag Emily Henry.
Henry, I have the playlist for you.
Let's chat about it. Let's talk about it. Anyways.
All right. Children class
Is in session.
is in session.
I feel like
Students.
you need like something.
A gavel.
No, that's for a lawyer.
Anyways, so the history of thrifting and
That's our
why
topic today.
we thrift, as you can see on the title, the details. You know, we worded out a little bit to get a little bit more information for you guys. Like we're talking about thrifting, but of course more thorough stuff.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit more in depth.
More in depth.
Mm-hmm.
So the history of thrifting, fashion world,
why it came to be, how it started.
A fascinating journey.
Let's go through the history.
Shifts,
Yeah.
cultural trends, and sustainability moments. We'll get back to that, guys. Remember, highlight that on your book.
If you're taking notes.
You're taking notes.
If you're driving, keep driving. Keep your eyes on the road.
Focus,
Keep your ears
Do
here.
not pick up that phone.
Yeah.
Do not write this. Okay. So the early origins of thrifting started in the late 19th century and the early 20th century, which is when, Leslie?
Don't tell me. I'm trying to rack my brain around it, and I'm like, I want to say
the 19th century. What number?
1800.
There we go. 20th century is the 19th, which is really weird. But
Why did I want to say 1980s?
I did not name them like that. So thrifting in its earliest forms can be traced back
to
in this century, in these centuries, particularly because during these periods, there's a lot of economic hardships.
So maybe not words.
So such as like the Great Depression that we know after the Roaring 20s. We got this whole high of old money, and then we went
so it
into
was
that.
more out of need, and it wasn't glamorous.
It wasn't that glam that we got in the 1920s, which is so funny because everyone was like, 2020 is going to be the Roaring 20s, and then we were in a pandemic. So that's a little bit.
Those are other things that happen.
Anyways, so people began purchasing secondhand clothing, or they were kind of like making their own, kind of with what they had, remaking their own.
Back to the idea of the denim, where there was patches, they were reworking what they had.
With what they had. So it's like, if you grew out of that, they were basically rebuilding silhouettes and all that stuff, which I feel like that's has to do with how a lot of women started now working in like the factories. I feel like maybe
I think also another element to that is they were saying how like sewing is a lost talent because now we have fast fashion. People don't really need to sew. They could just go out and buy like a $5 t-shirt, $10 t-shirt, whatever. But I think it is a skill that we still need. And back then they really needed it because like they were their own seamstress, they were their own tailors. They would adjust and adapt,
especially during that time. Which also it's fun. I had this conversation today at work, and so they were like telling me like my background, like asking me, and like you know, as some of you know, me and Leslie, we're sewing teachers for little children in a little camp, but as well as ourselves have a lot of background of sewing because of our mom and our grandma.
And our great-grandma.
And our great-grandma, which that's a little history.
There's tea there.
And so a lot of people, when I say like, yeah, I know how to sew, they get so surprised. They're like, oh, you sew? And like, and they ask me like, do you know how to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like funny because it's like fashion has become such an important aspect of our life. Yet the whole idea and the beginning of creating these garments is lost.
Also, sewing. I feel like another thing that people kind of lose touch, especially with fast fashion, is that they just assume that it's mass produced. Yes, but there are still things that have to be sewn, and they're all sewn by hand. Just because you don't see it, like there isn't a machine where you just throw the fabric and it creates the garment. No, that's not a thing. Somebody literally had to sew this, every little stitch, every button. Like there's a lot of like craftsmanship in it, and going as well for like the printed of this. Someone designed this. Someone made sure that it was going, and so it's a lot of labor intensive that we kind of forget about, especially with fast fashion. That we just want fast. We want a lot of product. We want all this, but it's like that beauty of sewing and of fashion and all that gets lost. Anyways, I got lost in translation. But let's go back. Let's wrangle it back. So that was late 19th century, early 20th century. But because of this, the rise of thrifting became something in the mid 20th century. It became to be a more like, because of like the affordable clothing that it was, and acquiring your unique style with it. So vintage shops, charity shops started to emerge and like create like certain selections of these secondhand garments. Because now there was things that were considered vintage because they had been in the past, because they had in 1920s. Which now when we go to thrift stores, we see all that, how it's like some of the vintage stuff is higher price because it's like that's such a valuable thing. And now vintage could be considered something from like the 1980s, which is kind of crazy to think about. Weird. Moving into the 1960s, 1970s, the rise of a counterculture movement happened. So with young people rejecting this mainstream of consumerism. There we go. Consumerism. A+, Natalie. Big words. So thrift stores became like their like havens. Like this is where they found their outfit. This is where they found their style, as well as like pieces. It has to do a lot with the previous episode or a few previous episodes. We talked about denims, about the patchwork, about all this stuff. They were creating their own style. They were creating from pieces that were ripped, from pieces that were old. They were remaking it. They were DIYing it. They were making their own styles. And designs, not falling into the whole mass production of clothing that was made. I don't know why, but I always think of like two scenes, which like are kind of random, but they kind of remind me of the same scene. So I always think of like Cinderella, when the birds like make her dress. But then I also think of Pretty in Pink, where she has that pink prom dress type of vibe. I don't know why. Like, I always just think about that. Like, reinventing, And a show, sorry, this is, I know, sidetrack. A show that should have had its day in the sun and it didn't. Jane by Design. ABC Family, I will never forgive you for canceling that show. If you have not watched it, please go rediscover it. They have to put it on Netflix, and I know for a fact it would go viral. Like, this show was ahead of its time. So good. But we were all stuck with vampires at the time. And it's so funny because during that time, nobody watched fashion. We also had like Tumblr and like the lookbooks type of thing. But it wasn't a big thing just yet. So when that show got canceled is when that raised its popularity. And you're like, because Jane by Design, she basically wants to become a fashion designer. She's in high school. She lives this double life because she ends up going for an internship. Turns out she's an assistant. And she ends up, like, she doesn't have money, obviously, to get all of these, like, fashion couture outfits. No. So she makes her own. So she'll go thrifting. She'll go through her closet. She'll kind of, like, design her own. Yeah. Anyways, that show was ahead of its time. Also, we got the best friend to lovers trope. Which we don't know to this day if they ended up together. Technically, they were supposed to, but, you know, we'll leave it at that. Any Any
who's us?
Sorry, that has nothing to do with it. Keep going.
So, moving into the 1980s, the 1990s, high fashion followed behind.
Yeah.
On this.
Mm-hmm.
So their stores gained that recognition from the designers, the influencers seeking a unique vintage piece. Yeah. Celebrities, trendsetters, all these people start incorporating thrifted items into their wardrobes. Mm-hmm. This not only elevated there. Sorry, that was so really hard. As I'm looking to a building where I was like, elevated.
I saw that.
There we go.
Your brain was turning.
Elevated their fashion sense, but as well as the status of like a secondhand
which
item.
I think thrifting has always been this thing of self-expression. So it became from like creating and designing it and kind of like reworking it to now like these people in high fashion finding these key pieces that they were inspired by and incorporating it into theirs, which is very interesting.
So now moving into present time to now, the secondhand has not only still left this mark of it being unique, of finding your unique style and all this stuff, but it also has made a mark of environmental factors. So just a whole sustainability thing. It's about basically making sure that end cycle,
it's
making sure that
loop.
You know, not going directly to the problem, which the problem is fast fashion, mass producing. You constantly shopping at these stores, these big stores.
I think it's just the quantity of items, and it's the quantity of, if you don't like it, yes, of course, sometimes it ends at the thrift store, but if it's stained, if it's ripped, if it's X, Y, and Z, it gets damaged, meaning it just becomes a pile of fabric. And so this, we don't see it because we don't see it here taking over our land, right? No. But it is like, there's literally like a mini ocean of like fabrics. You know, that's like, that's man-made.
Of textile waste.
And so also like there's so much effort that goes into making the item. There's also like a whole bunch of things that have to do with like civil rights and like, or is it civil rights? Sorry. Labor rights. Like there's a whole bunch of labor rights.
Like this has a lot to do as well for those who work in retail about like the whole minimum wage and all this stuff. But it's us working in these stores, but it's also for the people behind it that are paying. You know, the whole child labor laws did not just happen just because the whole getting paid a minimum wage happened because of that. So there's a lot of issues with fast fashion, and thrifting has become something that helps to reduce that in a way. Especially with people who are fully invested in sustainability or are learning and realize that this shopping secondhand isn't something that has to do with your economic status. It has a lot to do with your mentality for the planet. And for yourself, and expanding the Earth's life. For your
and the
future.
garments wear.
And how precious it is. Especially how precious, like, these people work so hard for to build these things that we all love, but it's not getting appreciated the way that they're supposed to. And we're not talking about those people that
one of the biggest things that comes to mind is the Rana Plaza. If you guys don't know what that is, definitely go Google it. And it's something that happened that was sad and tragic, and it kind of put the world to like see what these issues that are going on behind the scenes. You know, I won't go too much into it.
No.
I feel like that'll be a topic for another episode. But it is just like, I don't know, it's like very much of like this, like thrifting has become this like new way of shopping, especially now in the 21st century with the internet. Like people are creating bundles, and people will go thrift for you so you can get a capsule wardrobe, a certain type of like look that you want. There's so many videos too.
People who specifically their whole outfit, their whole wardrobe is secondhand pieces that they redesign. So in like wrapping this history part of it, there's more. Again, we have our design, that explains a little bit more of topics we don't hit. So please give it some love. Please,
Show
I
it.
work a
Show
lot
some
on
love.
them. Anyways, so from thrifting becoming a necessity during an economical hardship, it has now become a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
That has now evolved as something that is unique, that is one of a kind, affordable, and
Stylish.
sustainable. So now it's switched its gears. So it doesn't matter if you are in a certain status. Now it's just seen as you as a person, like your style, how you want to do it. You want to follow a crowd, you want to bring your own spin on stuff. Do you want to self-expression, which I'm glad that I feel like we've gotten into this now, that we have that ability to do that.
I think it has to do with the new generation
and social media. I feel like it's like you see all these people like build these outfits and you're like, oh my god, I love that, but then another day you're like, oh, but I love this, oh but like I love this. Like you don't have a like one set of like style it could be that you are. It could be all this, which going back to girl bands, Maurice talked about this, about how it's just kind of, it's like her aura, like whatever she's feeling to dress up like for that day, she like embodies it. So it's like the same thing where it's like we have that ability with as well
whatever
thrifting,
you're inspired by,
to do something like that.
Yeah, I love that.
Take it away, listening.
All right.
Take it away.
So when it comes to now, how we currently view it, right? How our generation views it. We grew up in the time of, you know, for those who are a little bit older, Tumblr. Right now it's very much Pinterest. We had lookbooks, especially like on YouTube. I feel like that was a big thing.
There was this
Thrift hauls.
Remember that? Yeah.
You can make outfits.
You know, those girlies, those One Direction girlies were making outfits of my date with Harry, my date with Liam,
my God.
going to the race. I was one of those bitches.
Yeah, I know you were. You had an account.
I had an account, guys.
We'll
never share what
I was going.
No, about like Tumblr. What? It's embarrassing.
Has nothing to do with thrifting.
Yeah, thrifting your style. Okay, anyways, go.
Okay, so when it comes to that, I feel like how Natalie was saying, the internet is very much a big thing about it.
Yeah.
And you can get inspired.
Going on a date.
Whatever inspires you, whatever floats your boat, you scroll through these platforms. You can't even. Oh my god. The thing is, folks, she's serious about this. She wants us to make it into the podcast. I'm really trying to be professional right now. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Cut the show.
Cut the show.
Just
this
kidding.
is gold material. This is what the people wanted to listen. I'm just kidding.
All right, let's see.
If you wanted to.
Okay, so obviously thrifting has redefined the game, right? How is this new generation kind of taking it and making it its own? Obviously we had Tumblr, we had people like Tavi Gavinson start like the Style Rookie, right? Now she's like an actress, but obviously like when she first started, she lived, I forgot where, but it was like in the middle of like USA, where you really like don't have like anything besides, you know, like the mall or things like that.
Yeah.
So what she would do is she would thrift, and she would get inspired by all of these magazines. Thrift, started her own blog, and she was like a teenager, and basically like the fashion community adopted her. Like she really became a fashion icon for that time. I remember her spread in Nylon magazine. I was so excited about that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was
taking it back to
appreciating
the fashionistas out there that putting the hard work getting recognized, whatever.
You know how I feel right now if you're an older sibling.
Yeah, me callo.
Just like, it has nothing to do with us. I can't even form a sentence because I'm like, what's the next thing?
I'm still here.
What's the next thing that's going to come out of her mouth?
Okay.
Okay, so we have people like Tavi Gavinson, literally started her blog from...
Tavi?
Oh,
no, I'm asking because I didn't see it in the notes. And I want to...
Folks, the light is going out.
Okay, go.
And I have to... So we have people like Tavi Gavinson who did the Style Rookie, who took basically thrifted clothes, made it her own, and she became a fashion icon. That was also like on Tumblr and stuff like that. And then you have people like Emma Chamberlain, who literally would do thrift hauls, right?
Love
like
this girl.
She did that, and now she's literally like at the Met Gala. Do you get what I'm saying? So
freaking Anna Wintour is always calling her up. Yo, Emma,
Emma,
what you doing?
yo, Emma,
we need you on the red carpet.
You're on the red carpet, babes. Like, that's the thing. But we also had people like, I don't know if you guys remember, Best Dressed. Her name was Ashley. She would also do these thrifting videos. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of people online who are doing this. We also have B. Jones. She shows you kind of like things in vogue right now on the runway, how it gets inspired by them, and she'll go through the thrift store and find pieces that almost replicate these looks.
And when you look at it first glance, you're just like, but like, I don't know how her mind works, but she's like, you might think of it like, but she's like, oh, you do this,
and it looks
that's
so good. She'll put a whole outfit, and you're just like, oh, this works.
This works.
And then she'll show you her influence, and you're like, no, I see that. Like, yes, this is giving Rodarte. Yes, this is giving Gucci.
Whatever.
Yeah. So you have people like that, but you also have people who are designers, who will take basically thrifted items or thrifted garments, thrifted fabrics, and turn them into something completely new.
Yes.
On Natalie's Zine, we have a few other people who we'll mention, and you guys can go check that out.
Highlight them. They're important. They're
going to be highlighted. They're going to get recognized.
Literally highlighted.
So recognition. Check it out. We're going to tag them. But the person we want to talk to today...
Which we'll move on to this next segment.
Yes, we got to interview Scarlett, which we were so excited. I was so nervous.
We were nervous.
She takes tea towels that are thrifted, and she designs dresses. And she's also started doing, like, purses, too, which is very exciting. Anyways, we'll let her talk a little bit more about it.
We're both nervous. This is the thing, guys. Me and Leslie are nervous. She's also nervous herself. It looks awkward, but when we emailed each other, like, after, when we're like, oh, like, thank you so much for being on it. Like, hey, like, I'm so sorry that it might have felt or looked awkward. Like, we were just so nervous to, like, officially meet you, especially since, like, this is someone that we've watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
That we're getting to interview. We have the opportunity to interview. And she emailed back. She's like, "No, I was nervous as well." So it's like, oh, okay. So that's like,
so you'll get the vibes. You'll get the vibes going. But yes, we're so excited to have Scarlett with us on this episode.
Tonight.
Yeah, we'll let her kind of talk a little bit more about it. Hope you enjoy this interview. Hi, Scarlett. Thank you so much for being here with us and for doing the interview. We're like huge fans. I love watching your YouTube videos. Your vlogs are like so great.
Thank you.
But yeah, for our audience, do you want to like share like a little bit about like what you do and like what your brand is about?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Scarlett, and I take secondhand textiles and sometimes tea towels and make unique, size inclusive clothing and accessories. And yeah, I'm very lucky to be doing it as my full-time job.
That's like so amazing. I love that.
With you and your brand, how would you define your style or your current style, like influence it? Like if it's like incorporated with like the both?
Yeah, like your work and
yourself. Yeah.
Do you know, I always find that question really hard because I'm so indecisive, so I don't really know what my style is. It's just pretty much whatever I can find and just mash together.
Yeah.
I would say maximalist is probably the main word, but I feel very inspired by people who just dress for themselves, people who don't really follow the trends and just go with things that they like because they like the color or the fabric or whatever. So those are like my main influences and what I do. But yeah, I find it really hard to put a label on what style I am, because I try and cater to a lot of people. If it's the goths, if it's the very like bright colored people, it's just a merge.
Yeah, I also saw that like in one of your recent vlogs you were talking about like Art Nouveau and kind of getting inspired by that too, which I think is also like really like fun and unique. Yeah.
Yeah, my style has changed. It changes all the time. It's constant. Different decades, different parts of the decades. It's just, yeah, I don't even know.
It's like a little bit of everything, you know, especially with all the trends coming
Yeah,
up. You're like, I
yeah.
want to taste it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of everything.
I like that and I like that. No,
And you're like,
incorporate.
we're gonna mash it together. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, how do you go from like finding, like the tea towels and like the fabrics, like, and then kind of designing the piece? Like, what is your process like, through like designing?
Yeah, I mean, for the tea towel dresses and things like that, it's quite simple. It's just find the tea towel and then kind of gauge what like vibe it is, sort of like the colors that are in the tea towel, and then I just go through my stash, which is massive, and then just seem to just find fabrics that like fall off the shelves and just fall onto the piece. So yeah, I'm quite lucky that it's quite easy for me. But then when it comes to like making stuff for myself, I like love draping, which is weird because it's like not something that I do in my own like business, but I just take the little elements that I like and then just whack it on a mannequin and then hope for the best. So yeah.
I love that. So like for like the pieces that you sell, it's more like pattern based, right? But then more for like for your own, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I feel like that's also nice to know that you have like two styles of like the way you design that kind of go behind it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of fall out of love with sewing because they do it full time. But if I can do the things I like for myself along with the stuff, obviously I absolutely love what I do full time, but like to have a bit more creative freedom with the things that I make for myself, yeah, it's a good balance at the minute.
It's almost like re-inspiring yourself
Yeah.
again, like through everything. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
What are like the best tips that you could give to someone like for thrifting for like either it be like for the little tea towels that you do or just fabrics in itself?
Yeah, for like tea towels, I mean, there you can get anything on a tea towel, any animal, any flower, anything. So, I mean, for when I look for something really specific, I just choose something that I love. So, like cats, I love cats, and I have loads of cat tea towels.
Yeah.
So just whack that into a search engine, and you'll find loads of things with cat tea towels. But then with fabrics, I mean, I'm quite lucky that my explore page is quite tailored for what I like. But if there's like a certain fabric that you come across and you see the brand or the sort of era that it's in, then just get your notes down and then just search that way. That's the best thing I can suggest. Yeah.
I love that. And then what like new projects do you have working on? Or like are you working on a new collection or anything like that?
Yeah, I've got a tea towel design drop happening on the 13th, which is next week. But I mean, I'm sort of learning to pattern cut myself. So currently, I get everything done by a grader. So this is something that I would like to do to then release more patterns and more DIY upcycle part because I really enjoy that part and I like that I could hopefully inspire people through upcycle. So I'm definitely leaning towards the more upcycling for other people kind of route. So it's a slow process, but I'm getting there.
I feel like also like I think because you were saying how you kind of do everything yourself, right? So it's kind of like a one woman show and you're kind of like trying to do as much as you can, which is like so cool to see.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm doing it and it's good. It's going.
Yeah. Get some small business friends and you can all just talk about it together and just all struggle
Together.
But it's fun. But it's hard.
I love that. Yeah. And then where can our like listeners like kind of keep up with you to kind of keep up with like the drop and any like new things that you're working on?
Social media, so Instagram and TikTok is Afraid Upcycling, and YouTube, it's all the same, just Afraid Upcycling.
I love that. I'm like, we'll put all the links everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. Show them. Yeah. And ourselves will always follow you and be looking at your videos. We're like your fans and everything. Yeah.
I know. We were like really nervous kind of going into the interview and I was like, I can't believe it. She said yes.
You're my second podcast. So.
Oh, really? Thank you. Thank you.
It's like nice to finally meet you because it's like from seeing you from like on our phone, like, or on our TV, like on YouTube, on TikTok, and all that stuff, to officially like get to talk to you, get to know more about you is so like exciting as well.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, it was so nice meeting you, Scarlett. Thank you for coming on with us and chatting with us as well.
I know. You're like on the other side of the world, but thank you.
I know, my day's ending and yours is starting. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
You're like a good in between to see what time for both of us.
I know, we were trying to figure it out, and I was like, I think this would be okay because it's kind of like in the middle. It's not too late, not too early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. So bringing it to the idea of how it's being portrayed on the runway with these designers, right? I feel like
keeping the meaning of what thrifting
means. So a lot of these things are upcycling, right? Which Natalie will put the definition of what upcycling means, because there are different terms when it comes to sustainable fashion. And so upcycled collections, we have a pioneer who she's always been an activist for sustainability, and it's Stella McCartney.
Yes.
You know, her dad is a guy from the Beatles. Yes, he is, if you didn't know. But besides her, you know, she's one of my favorite Nepo babies. Yeah. She's well deserved as a designer and respect. She really incorporates upcycled materials and vintage textiles into all of her collections. And she really designs it, really reclaiming these fabrics and promoting eco-friendly. And it's very innovative, I think, because for someone in that luxury space, that was something that wasn't really like valued or looked upon when she first started doing it. So I think it's really nice that she kind of paved the way for that. Another upcycled designer, we have Christopher Rayburn. He utilizes surplus military fabrics. So it's more heavy duty, and it's stuff like parachutes and like really thick, sturdy materials. And for his runway showcase, it's kind of nice because he also incorporates a lot of outerwear and accessories, which makes sense with the types of materials that he's using. So I feel like those are two major designers right now where you see it throughout their whole collection and kind of the philosophy that they work with.
Moving into now like the vintage and retro influences, because a lot of these designers get influenced by these types of silhouettes, these types of like garments and fabrics. The first one that we can all think about is Gucci. Gucci has frequently drawn inspiration from vintage and thrifted aesthetics,
which I think is so funny that people did that picture of Harry on the runway with that suit. And they were like, it looks like my grandma's couch. Like, babes, that's the
Gucci.
vibe.
That's what Gucci does.
We're inspired by vintage.
You know, they want to incorporate those nostalgia elements.
But yeah.
So, like, how we said, the retro prints. We have, like, embellishments. Silhouettes. Into the runway collections. Like Leslie explained perfectly of Harry in that suit. I was one of those people that said that was your grandma's couch. Anyways. So this, like, their approach blends the high fashion with a sense of like nostalgia and individuality.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say another word. I was like,
anyways, so like that's like what it is. Even though like you can be like, okay, but like they be having the Jackie bag, or they be having, but it's like it's authentic.
It's influenced by that.
It's influenced. Like this is a vintage piece that they repurpose in a way, and they brought back to like to what they need now.
Yeah.
And then the other designer brand is
Moschino.
Okay, I was gonna say that, but I was like, no, that's wrong. Moschino.
Moschino. People have said it very differently. You know who we're talking about. We'll put the name right here.
Moschino. Yeah. Anyways, which is under Jeremy Scott's creative direction. Embraced thrifting and his eclectic influence. That too many C's, guys.
Sorry, sometimes I do the notes and I use big words. I'm sorry.
She forgets. She's doing me. So you know we've seen it before occasionally with his bold prints. We can identify Jeremy Scott's designs with his bold prints with his vintage motifs
Playfulness.
and like playfulness, like that is incorporated to pop culture references.
Yeah.
Which he has done a lot of collabs with, like, celebrities.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of collabs with singers with this. I think one of them was, if I'm not wrong, if that's the same person, with Little Mix. Anyways,
Jeremy Scott has done a lot of really amazing collections.
Amazing collection, which you'll be seeing here. The picture we'll be seeing in the designs that we'll highlight, as well as people in, you know, social media have also done this. But those are the two brands that still incorporate the vintage retro elements in their design, in their new collections, even if it's a new collection. Like, that's something that they always touch on.
Yeah. And they play with, and they get to kind of evolve.
Yeah.
So another way that you see it on the runway, you see it in the fashion world. We have designers who are using fabrics, who are using innovative technology to kind of help with dyes and the whole process of things to make it sustainable. You also have designers who are influenced by retro styles, retro fabrics, or vintage fabrics. You also have a lot of independent designers who are using thrifted materials or who are repurposing items. So you have those. But another way is we have the sustainable fashion initiatives, right? So during Fashion Week, various cities, designers, and brands, they all kind of participate in this movement, and they include upcycled or vintage pieces into their collections. Or even there's people who, you know, they get photographed for their street style, and they'll dress in thrifted items to go to these shows or to be seen and taking, you know, the pictures, basically. And so I think just having this idea that thrifting can not only be a thing of artistry, but it's also this thing of, like, it's a movement for a better world and for sustainability. I think it's really nice to merge those two together,
highlighting like the important, like, what thrifting, how it started,
how it's evolved,
and how it's evolved to what it is now.
Because it used to be something that was maybe shameful or you looked down on, and it's evolved into something kind of beautiful, and it's kind of been like, you kind of, I don't know, you take initiative into, like, no, I'm doing something, I'm creating something, and we're paving the way for something new and something better. This was a really fun episode to talk about and to do. I do feel like a little bit of a hypocrite because I don't have any of my thrifted items.
But you do folk. I feel like out of everyone, I feel like you do.
Sorry, guys.
I got into the whole sustainability thing because of Leslie. She got into that. And as well, I feel like you're like a conscious, like, shopper. You only shop pieces you know that you love, but it's also coming from a brand that is
sustainable.
Sustainable.
So that's another thing. Actually, I'll take that back. This isn't vintage or this isn't thrifted, but this sweater is made out of, I believe, 90% recycled wool, and it is from Reformation, and they've also used, like, other initiatives in order to help with the water consumption of them as they, like, make the sweater. So it is sustainable.
Your baggy dad jeans.
Same goes with my baggy dad jeans.
They're Levi's.
I
know that they're waterless technique.
Yeah, and my Golas, I think, are also pretty. Are they sustainable? I think so, right?
I think they are. Also, because like I feel like thrifting has now evolved to where now not only is the consumerism growing of, like, that demand, but now people are demanding sustainable practices from brands. And for them not just to show,
I think you're just more consciously aware.
You're more just consciously aware. And you're not, like, having people just say, like, oh, yeah, we're green, or, hey, we're eco-friendly. Like, no, I want the receipts, babes. I want the receipts. And we have brands like Reformation.
I like that you mentioned that, because I was like, I'm such a fraud. Like, I didn't wear anything thrifted. But I think this goes back to my mentality when I shop of, like, what items do I want? And it's items that I use all the time. Like, these baggy dad jeans, I wear them all the time. My Golas, all the time. These sweaters, I'm going to be wearing it for the fall. So it's true. I think it also has to do with the consciousness of the consumer.
And now they're demanding that. They're demanding the sustainable practices. They're demanding that we know the whole footprint of the process of designing just a single garment. Where it started, where you got the fabric, where you got the textiles,
how
who
long
did
it
it,
takes to make
how
it.
long it takes it, the amount of water used, the amount of energy used, the amount of, like,
which
every single little detail.
I applaud designers like Scarlett because they show you the whole process, right? They show you the whole behind the
Yeah.
scenes. And they also create something amazing out of like something that could have just stayed at the thrift store, like tea towels.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like that's, I mean, Scarlett herself, like, she's willing to tell you where she got the fabric, how she shops for the fabric, where she goes for the fabric, where other people who want to get into the fashion world sometimes fall behind on that.
Yeah.
But for people to come forward and explain to you and tell you where they're coming, you know,
to have
they're
that
going,
truthfulness, that honesty.
they're going through the like right direction.
And
I
feel like that's why it's important to also support these designers, to definitely go and support them, because you know,
especially small businesses that practice sustainable things within the beginning of their process to the end, and you know,
are conscious
and conscious. So you know, go out, support these small businesses that are sustainable, brands that do promote themselves as sustainable and give you that footprint, but at the same time also support those YouTubers, those like Instagram influencers that are paving the way for us to now not only rely solely on fast fashion, but going secondhand. And realizing that there's style
how to style it. Which I think is
hard.
Beautiful. No, I think
and I feel like everyone has a sense of style. It's just finding your own way. And your own way does not have to be the same as everybody else. It's adding your own spin to it. And
I think it's also another thing about how it doesn't have to be with like how much money you have. It could also be like you thrifted this item and it's like you reworked it, you made it look like this, and you're like, whoa, that like people will compliment you on it, and you're like, oh, this was, you know what I'm saying? Like it has nothing to do with money. I think it has everything to do with style. And with innovation, vision, inspiration.
So I feel like if you take anything, it's that is now focusing on, you know,
how to incorporate
all in your life, even like fashion in like furniture upcycling. Like now we're diving into that, you know, and there's
Facebook
things,
Marketplace,
there's things like that you know we should be grateful for, that it started during a hard time for people, but now it's evolved to this where now we're demanding people to,
there's like a sense of normalcy to it,
to know that this isn't a failure if you go secondhand.
No. It could be beautiful.
It could be something beautiful.
And you rework it to fit your style. Again, it has nothing to do with the price tag. It has all to do with intention.
What's that song?
Just like this podcast. Low budget, baby.
Me, myself, and Leslie.
And the lights are going out because this is a natural lighting.
Because we were paid by the lights. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, so
hit the lights.
Let the music move you and lose yourself tonight. Selena Gomez, I love you.
Another one. Oh my gosh, Only Murders in the Building.
We just watched that episode. Anywho,
I thought you were gonna sing another one. Who else sings the song about lights? You're gonna say Ellie Goulding.
No.
Harry Styles? Okay, sing it, girl. Sing it.
No.
Let's see.
We don't.
You were talking about him. Sing it.
No.
Back it up. How do I know you're a true fan?
You are. He's in like Mexico. He's like,
oh my god.
He's against his
him
body.
shirtless.
Ooh!
Step into the light.
I remember I sent Leslie a picture and I just sent it to her, and she was like, and I was like, new music
video coming out.
Anyways, so because the lights are gone, so we should end this. Hold my hand. Thank you, Scarlett, for being our guest today. We were thrilled to have you and so excited to meet you. Okay,
sorry, we were so excited to meet you. Thank you.
So go ahead and we'll link all of her social media down below. Go ahead and give her some love. See her on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram.
Go on her website.
Buy a few of those tea towels if you can. If
dresses,
you love it. Dresses.
Amazing.
All the little things that she does as a small business owner. She does it all herself. So like, bow down.
Yeah, like she's a one-woman. Yeah,
she's a one-woman show.
We love her.
Anyways, so with that being said, go support her. Go support all the other small businesses and other people.
If you guys are a small business, or even if you guys are starting to do anything with thrifting, definitely link it down below. Add your tag. Add, follow each other.
We're building this community to get to know more talented artists like ourselves and get to
Not
I feel
to toot
like
our own horn, but we're talented.
but to like learn more.
Yeah.
I think I feel like every day is a learning lesson of new things and new ideas, new like topics to hit and stuff. So as we are trying to teach you guys a few stuff that we've learned along the way, we want to learn a little bit about yourself and of things that you do. So because the lights are leaving us, we leave you with this beautiful long filling episode, and we will see you next week.
Love
guys.
you.
Love you. Stay fashionable.
Hey, thank you guys so much for listening. Please don't forget to leave us a review and to share this podcast with your loved ones, acquaintances, and really just anybody and everybody who will listen.
We'll be releasing new episodes every Wednesday. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at We Are Fashionably Late with 2 E's at the end, and at The Digitals Podcast on YouTube for more behind the scenes content. Sending you lots of love and virtual hugs. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Bye.